Here on Kababayan LA, we try to help you achieve your American dream. And we all know that here in the States, it's difficult to achieve that if your immigration papers aren't in order. That's why we simplify the laws for you with our American Dream segment.
This American Dream segment is brought to you by Aquino & Lowe Law Firm, answering your immigration questions.
Long time no see, Attorney Richard Lowe. Hello and welcome once again to Kababayan LA.
It's great to be here.
And we're doing something new, guys. If you want, I'm sure you have a lot of immigration questions. All you need to do is email us, kababayan@la18.tv, and the lawyers are going to be here, Attorney Richard Lowe and Attorney Allison Aquino, his partner, and they're going to be answering your questions every other week here on the show. We have our letter sender, Rosaline Corbin. If we can put the letter up, please. I will read it. I was petitioned by my father, and the petition was approved in June of 1997. I received a letter from the National Visa Center.
Yes.
Last November, starting the visa application process. My father returned to the Philippines in 2005, but due to health conditions, he decided to stay in the Philippines. He is now disabled. Can another relative in the U.S. help by submitting an affidavit of support? What effect is there on the petition if my father is still in the Philippines? So basically, Attorney Lowe, can you simplify this question? Basically, when you get petitioned, the petitioner needs to file an affidavit of support for you.
That's correct. In almost all cases, a petitioner must file an affidavit of support, and it doesn't matter whether they can qualify or not. That is, if they don't have any income, they still have to file the affidavit of support.
But they won't qualify.
But they won't qualify, so you have to get what's called a co-sponsor. You get somebody else to sign an affidavit of support for you as well. That person only has to be a permanent resident or U.S. citizen of the United States. They need not be a relative. So it can be a friend, it can be a co-worker.
An old neighbor from the Philippines, perhaps.
Anybody, as long as they're a permanent resident and U.S. citizen.
What is needed in order to qualify for applying an affidavit of support?
Well, basically, there's an income requirement, and that income requirement is set by the poverty guidelines. Each year, the U.S. government puts out poverty guidelines, and 125% of poverty is the threshold for qualifying to an affidavit of support. And I can quote you numbers, but they change depending upon the size of the family household.
You knew what I was getting into. Okay, all right. So you can't give us, you know.
No, roughly you could say if you have a family of two, and that's all that's going to be in your family, you're going to need to make about $18,000, and it goes up about $4,000 from there. So each member you need to add.
So basically, the answer to her question is yes.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anybody can file a co-sponsor. That is, petitioner files an affidavit of support, then somebody else can file a co-sponsor as well.
And so her question is, what effect is there on the petition if my father is still in the Philippines?
Yeah, that's a little bit more complex. I mean, there's a couple of issues that are raised there. One of the issues, it goes with the affidavit of support. In order for the petitioner to continue with the petition, he has to reside in the United States or have the intent to reside in the United States. So even though he's been in the Philippines since 2005, he needs to show the embassy that he's going to be coming with his daughter to the United States and to live here permanently.
Don't you get interviewed together also? Or?
Well, he's not being interviewed, but he could go to the interview at the embassy. They usually don't require it, but he could appear there as well.
So if you're the lawyer of this person, of Rosaline Corbin, what are you going to advise her? Well, have her dad, bring her dad over?
Dad's going to have to come over if she's going to be able to continue on with the petition. But the other question is, what's his status? If he was a permanent resident, then there are other issues that come up from that. He might have lost his status.
But can you petition a son or daughter if you are just a permanent resident? Maybe not.
You can petition your son or daughter if you're a permanent resident, as long as they're not married.
Okay.
If they're an unmarried son or daughter, then you can petition for them.
So what are the complications? Say, for example, the dad is just a permanent resident.
Well, he's been in the Philippines for 5 years, so there's a question as to whether or not he's lost his permanent residency, and therefore the petition would be gone. Now, if he's a U.S. citizen, the question is he going to be able to come back to the United States? Sounds like he's disabled. Not sure if he's receiving medical treatment. And what is his mental condition? Because that's the other factor. He still has to present an affidavit of support. He has to sign something.
That is why you need a lawyer for things like this, and they do give free office consultation. That's the number to call on the screen. Thank you so much for simplifying this issue for us today, and more power to you.
Thank you.
Magbabalik pa po ang Kababayan LA. Don't go away.